In the low-lit corners of Lagos, where the blaring horns of yellow danfos mix with the chattering of market women, lived a man whose name was known far and wide, not for wealth, not for brilliance, but for something far rarer: joy in brokenness. His name was Musa, and although many saw him as mentally challenged, others simply said, "He day different." But him, heart pure. Musa had no home. He slept wherever the ground was forgiving, under footbridges, behind mosques, or in abandoned kiosks. His clothes were torn at the seams, and his sandals were mismatched, sometimes tied with rubber bands to hold their soles together. But his spirit? That thing was unbreakable. He wasn't a man of many words. His sentences came in half-thoughts, sprinkled with laughter and sudden clapping. People said his mind wandered, but those who paid attention noticed. It wandered not into madness, but into memory and hope. Weekdays were for survival. Musa begged at roundabouts, helped wheel heavy market loads, or danced for a sachet of water. He never stole, never raised his voice, just wandered, smiled, and waited. But weekends were magic. Saturday mornings, he would rinse his shirt at a tap behind a public toilet, pat his chest dry with a nylon bag, and press his trousers under a stone. Then, with a rhythm in his step, he'd pick one party, any party, and go. No invitation, no shame. Nah, that beggar wasabi dance. People would whisper when they saw him glide in, barefoot and beaming. And truly, Musa could dance. Not with style or skill, but with a sincerity that bent the room. He'd clap offbeat, spin clumsily, mimic the DJ. And when the food came, someone, a caterer, a kind auntie, or a child, would hand him a plate. He never asked. He never fought. He just was. One hot afternoon, as he sat on a broken bench behind Balogun Market, a street cleaner paused and stared at him. "Musa, you die go party every weekend like say dem invite you," the man scoffed, sweat trickling down his brow. Musa looked up with half a puff of bread in his mouth. He chewed thoughtfully, swallowed, and said, "Because not only for party people, they dance with me." The cleaner chuckled, shook his head, and walked away. But Musa's words floated in the air, like palm oil smoke, thick, lingering, and impossible to ignore. Hello guys. Welcome to my channel, where interesting stories of love, communication, and empathy are told. If you're enjoying this one already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. One Saturday, the city buzzed louder than usual. Banners were flying, convoys blocked roads. The air smelt of jasmine and jollof, a sure sign that something big was coming. It was the wedding of Tobi Olumide, the only son of Chief Olumide, the billionaire oil tycoon whose mansion faced the lagoon like a king before his court. Musa, as usual, followed the music. He watched from the sidewalk as expensive cars drove past. The guests wore agbatas so wide they could be mistaken for parachutes. The women's gelée reached the sky. But Musa didn't hesitate. He walked around the back, where the delivery boys moved crates of water. One young caterer, spotting him, smiled knowingly. "Oya Musa," she whispered. "No cause wahala. Just go sit for corner." He nodded gratefully, clutching his shirt closed. Inside, the wedding was nothing short of royal. Flowers imported from Italy, ice sculptures glinting under soft lights. Even the cake had its own chandelier, and as the live band fired up the talking drums, the crowd prepared for the moment. Everyone was waiting for the money spray. Musa watched from the side, still chewing a small puff. A cleaner had slipped him. He had seen hundreds of weddings. He knew the drill, but what happened next, he didn't expect. As the couple began to dance, and the drums reached their crescendo, something shifted. Phones came out, eyes sparkled, but hands remained still. No money rained. People whispered, "Spray wettin'? This boy na billionaire son our money go even enter camera? Abeg, I day wait suya stand." Even the hype men didn't push too hard. Everyone assumed Tobi didn't need spraying. It felt pointless, like pouring perfume into the ocean. But Musa, still standing in the corner, reached slowly into his pocket. There, folded in a small nylon, was his treasure, a bundle of 20 naira notes. Faded, wrinkled, precious. A woman at mile 12 had given it to him the day before. He had helped her lift a basket of yam. She said, "Musa, take. Buy something chop." He had saved it. He didn't know why. But now, watching Tobi smiling, yet oddly alone on the dance floor, something moved in him. He stood, walked forward, each step soft, each eye turned. The music played louder, but Musa's world went quiet. He reached the stage and stretched out his hand. One by one, 20 naira, 20 naira, 20 naira, he sprayed. The crowd gasped. The MC stuttered. Someone laughed awkwardly. But Musa? He kept spraying. His fingers trembled, not from fear, from love. A small note fluttered and landed at the groom's shoe. Tobi stopped dancing, looked down, then up, straight into Musa's eyes, and smiled the kind of smile that says, "I see you. I really see you." He stepped forward and hugged Musa. The cameras clicked, the music softened, and in that moment, Musa, the man no one saw, became the one no one could ignore. The silence that followed Musa's hug felt sacred. Tobi, still holding him close, didn't speak. He didn't need to. That embrace spoke louder than any microphone, any fireworks, any voice note that might be posted later that night. Someone in the crowd shifted uncomfortably, muttering, "Wetin day happen?" Another voice, low and honest, replied, "This, na real giving." Within seconds, camera phones came back out. Not to mock, but to capture. One guest even whispered, "This moment, go trend, pass the cake." And it did. The clip of a beggar spraying a billionaire groom with 20 naira notes spread like wildfire. TikTok, Facebook, even WhatsApp groups. One blog captioned it, asterisk, "When a beggar gives from his heart, it hits different." But the crowd, in that moment, didn't know what else to do. The band, unsure, switched to a softer track. Musa stepped back slowly, as if coming out of a trance. He nodded to Tobi, placed the last 20 naira note on the bride's hand like it was a blessing, and walked toward the exit. No drama, no lingering, no second thought. One child clapped for him. A few adults followed. The ripple of applause was unsure at first, then sincere. He was no longer the dancing beggar. He had become a symbol, even if most didn't know what to say about it yet. Backstage, one of the younger groomsmen hissed, "Omo, Tobi get heart sha. Me, I for just waka komot, if nami." Another one replied, "That guy sabi wetin he dey do. You know see how he look that man?" And truthfully, Tobi wasn't acting. He felt something shift in him, a kind of humility he hadn't tasted before. It was one thing to give money to the poor. It was another to receive something priceless from someone society had discarded. Meanwhile, Musa found himself outside the venue. He didn't know he had become a trending figure. He simply walked away like he always did after parties. He found a quiet place behind a fence, opened the nylon in his other pocket, and brought out half a puff he had saved. Savoring the taste, a cat brushed past him. He smiled and gave it the final bite. "Make we share am," he said softly. Back inside, Tobi kept glancing at the spot where Musa had disappeared. Something about that encounter refused to leave his chest. Later that night, after the final toasts and the guests began heading out with their souvenirs, he pulled his cousin aside. "Do you know who that man was?" he asked. The cousin shrugged. "Nah, that dancing guy. People see am for different parties. Some they call am Musa." Tobi nodded, filing the name in his mind. By the time he and his new bride got to their honeymoon suite at the Echo Hotel penthouse, the video was already circulating. His bride, Maid, watched it and whispered, "Babe, this thing you did, it's the best part of today." Tobi sat on the bed, still in his agbada, staring at the screen. "I didn't do anything," he replied. "He did." She touched his hand gently. I think you need to find him before the internet forgets. And so, the next morning, the search began. Tobi wasn't used to looking for people like Musa. His world was full of assistants, drivers, and appointments. But this search? It had to be personal. He put on plain clothes and took his cousin with him. No PR team, no bodyguards. They started in the area where people said Musa usually showed up around Mile 12 Market. They asked kiosk owners, hawkers, danfo drivers. Most didn't know his name, but one woman said, "You dey find that man way dance for parties? He dey come here sometimes to rest under that broken umbrella. But today, I never see him." By noon, they had no luck. By evening, Tobi sat on a slab near the market gate, sweat soaking through his t-shirt. His cousin handed him a bottle of water. "Bros, maybe tomorrow." But Tobi shook his head. Just a bit more. They moved toward the back of the market, where the smell of smoke and old oil filled the air. There, between two abandoned stalls, Tobi saw a hunched figure tearing bread and dropping crumbs on the ground. It was Musa, feeding birds, feeding rats, feeding whoever came. "Musa," Tobi said gently. Musa looked up, shielding his eyes from the setting sun. His eyes widened. Then he smiled, that same crooked, wide smile that had filled the wedding hall with light. Tobi sat beside him, quietly. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Then Tobi said, "You gave me something no one else did yesterday." Musa tilted his head, as if trying to remember. "That 20 naira you sprayed. It's the most I've ever received." Musa chuckled. "Nah, the only one I get." "I know," Tobi replied, voice soft. "That's what makes it worth more than anything else I was given." Musa scratched his head and looked down, as if unsure how to take a compliment. Tobi pulled a paper from his pocket. It was a sketch. A small shop. A place with Musa's name on the banner. "I want to build this for you," he said. "Not just because you gave, but because you reminded me what it means to be human." Musa looked at the sketch. His hands trembled slightly. He nodded slowly, then faster. "You go give me new slippers too?" he asked, eyes hopeful. Tobi laughed. "Slippers, socks, the whole shoe rack." They both laughed. A danfo honked in the distance. Someone shouted over a megaphone. The city moved on, as it always did. But in that corner, something had paused. Two men from two worlds, one in tattered clothes, one in designer jeans, found something they didn't know they needed. Not pity, not charity, and just like that, the comeback began. The next morning, Lagos woke to the echo of a moment that had shaken both the rich and the common. The clip of Musa spraying *** 20 naira notes, ***, with hands trembling yet sincere, had become more than content. It had become a conversation. And although Musa himself had no phone, no social media account, and no idea that he was trending, life had already begun shifting under his dusty feet. But before the world's noise could reach him, there was the simple fullness in his chest, the kind that only comes when a man gives the only thing he has. It was that same fullness that lingered in him as he walked into the morning sun, humming a tune he had heard at the wedding the night before. Meanwhile, Tobi sat at his dining table, sleepless eyes reflecting the memory of Musa's gesture. The world had celebrated the viral moment, but Tobi knew there was more beneath the surface, a deeper truth, a question that kept tugging at him. Why had Musa given him his last? That question followed him like a shadow when he returned to the market the next day, bringing with him a notebook full of sketches, plans, and dreams he was ready to pour into someone society had forgotten. When they met again under the shade of the broken umbrella, Musa greeted him with a shy wave, as if their encounter had been no more than a shared plate of puff-puff. But Tobi felt something else, a responsibility he had never known. Not because Musa was poor, but because he had reminded him of something money often erases: humility wrapped in sincerity. "Musa," Tobi said, sitting beside him on the dusty slab again, "I want to show you something." He unfolded a sketch. A small shop with a wooden door, bright paint, and shelves filled with goods. "This one fit be for me?" Musa asked, touching the paper gently. "Yes," Tobi replied, "if you want it." Musa nodded like a child receiving his first toy. I want. I want. Well, well. That quiet exchange marked the beginning of a transformation neither man fully understood yet. But it began with something simple asked. That evening, when Tobi returned home, he told his bride everything. How Musa had laughed when he offered new clothes. How he had tapped his chest and said, even if na one slippers, I go happy. She listened closely, then rested her head on his shoulder. Tobi, she said softly, you're not just helping him, you're helping yourself too. He knew she was right. Days passed, and Lagos continued talking. Some mocked, some praised, some argued about class, dignity, and humanity. But Tobi focused on one thing, finding a contractor who could build a simple, sturdy shop close to the market Musa called home. By the fourth day, construction began. Every plank, every nail, every brushstroke felt like a stitch repairing a tear in society's fabric. And as workers hammered away, Musa sat nearby, feet swinging as he watched, trying to understand how a drawing on paper could turn into something real. He whispered to himself, nah, my shop be this? Nah, me? For real? The workers found him amusing. One even asked, Baba, you go fit sell things for here? Musa scratched his head. If dem teach me, I fit learn. Laughter floated through the air. But it wasn't mocking. It was warm, like family teasing each other in the kitchen. Meanwhile, the video of the wedding moment kept gaining traction. Radio stations debated it. Churches used it as sermon material. Even school children reenacted it on the playground, with play money. The world had seen Musa, even if he hadn't seen the world watching. After a week, the shop was ready. Painted in vibrant orange and yellow, it stood like a beacon among the tired wooden stalls of the market. The banner above the entrance read, Musa's Corner, the man with the richest heart. When Tobi brought Musa to see it, the older man stopped in his tracks. His lips parted. His chest rose and fell. His eyes glistened, wide as moonlight on river water. This, nah for me? He whispered. Yes, Tobi said. Musa walked to the door, touched the smooth wooden frame, stepped inside, then stepped out again as if he needed to confirm it 3 times. Shelves lined the walls, already stocked with provisions, rice, gari, biscuits, milk, sardines, even small toys for children. He turned and hugged Tobi tightly, the same way Tobi had hugged him at the wedding. But this time, it was Musa who held on a little longer. Tobi, he said, voice shaking. You dey see me. Like person, I do see you, Tobi replied. And I'm not the only one. The market erupted with applause. Not the kind reserved for celebrities, but the kind families give each other when something good happens to one of their own. The applause of unity. The applause of hope. Over the next few days, customers came in droves, not out of pity, but respect. Some bought goods. Some took pictures. Some told Musa their children loved his story. One auntie even said, if person like you fit, get second chance. Mean, say God, never forget anybody. And Musa, with his new clothes and freshly trimmed hair, stood behind the counter with a smile that could soften granite. But one evening, after a long day of attending to customers, he sat outside his shop, watching the sunset paint the sky gold. He whispered to himself, all this for my 20 naira? Then he chuckled softly. God day do wonder. He didn't know Tobi was watching from across the street, leaning against his car with folded arms, quietly proud. Musa waved. Tobi waved back. 2 worlds, once distant, now tied together by a small, wrinkled note and the heart that had given it. The days that followed were unlike anything Musa had ever known. The market, usually a place where people rushed past him as though he were a gust of wind, now slowed down whenever he walked by. Children waved. Market women called his name. Even bus conductors, who normally barked at anyone in their way, tapped his shoulder and said, Chairman Musa, how far? You dey enjoy your new shop? Each greeting made him smile wider than the last. But deep inside, he still felt a quiet confusion, a sense of wonder he couldn't shake off. Life had been one long stretch of loneliness, hunger, and wandering. Then suddenly, like a drumbeat shifting in a song, everything changed because he had given away something so small. 20 naira. Didn't understand the storm it caused. The arguments online. The prayer points pastors preached on. The debates on radio. He only understood one thing. Tobi had seen him, truly seen him, and chosen not to look away. On the fourth morning after the shop opened, Musa sat on a small wooden stool just outside the entrance, sorting biscuits and arranging sachets of pure water into neat rows. He hummed a tune he couldn't quite remember the words to, tapping his foot gently. The sun had barely risen, but he felt warm already, not from the heat, but from a moment he kept replaying in his mind. The hug at the wedding, the way the hall had gone quiet, the feeling of mattering to someone, even just for a heartbeat. Just then, Tobi arrived in a simple t-shirt and jeans. No convoy today. No tinted cars. No crowd. Just him. He approached quietly, watching Musa's careful movements. "You're really taking this seriously," Tobi said, leaning against the wooden doorframe. Musa looked up, eyes bright. "Nah, my shop," he replied. "I no one spoil 'em." Tobi smiled. "I'm proud of you." Musa blinked twice, as if words like that didn't usually land on him. "You dey proud of me?" he repeated softly. "Yes," Tobi confirmed. "Very." A pause hung gently between them, like a leaf suspended in mid-air. Then Musa nodded slowly and continued arranging his table. His hands trembled not from fear, but from the fragile tenderness of hearing something he had never heard before. As they talked, market women gathered nearby, whispering loud enough for anyone to hear. "Nah, this man? The billionaire way help the beggar? Yes, oh, nah him. He get good mind. See how him day come check Musa every day." One woman, fanning herself with a carton, added, "And Musa Sef, see how I am day shine now. God day do miracle." Their chatter made Musa giggle. "Dem day talk," he murmured to Tobi. "Let them," Tobi said. "You deserve the attention." By midday, the shop was bustling. People came to buy. Some came just to greet. Others came out of curiosity, wanting to touch a little piece of the story that had touched the whole city. During a lull, an elderly man approached the shop and placed a firm hand on Musa's shoulder. "My pickin'," the man said in Yoruba. "You reminded us what giving really means. People day spray big money for party because dem wan show. But you give your 20 naira because na all you get. That cane heart, rare. Don't ever forget that." Musa nodded slowly, not sure what to say. Compliments still confused him. Like puzzles he wasn't sure how to solve. Later that week, Tobi returned with documents, the building papers, the business license, and a small booklet filled with instructions on how to run the store. He explained each one carefully, pointing at the lines, repeating himself whenever Musa's eyes wandered. At one point, Musa asked quietly, "Tobi, why you day do all this?" The question stopped Tobi mid-sentence. He closed the booklet gently and stared at Musa deeply, sincerely. "Because you taught me something," he said. "You showed me that giving doesn't come from the wallet. It comes from the heart." Musa tilted his head, unsure. "You taught me," Tobi continued, "that small things, the things people overlook, can carry the biggest weight. Your 20 naira did something I can't explain. It felt like someone held up a mirror to my soul." Musa scratched his neck, his voice trembling. "I no get anything, Tobi, nothing at all. But that day, I just wan give wetin I fit. And that," Tobi whispered, "is what made it priceless." The words flowed into Musa like warm water, sinking deep into the cracks of his memory, filling places that had been empty for years. He didn't cry, not out of pride, but because the feeling was too new to name. As the sun dipped behind the rooftops, Tobi helped Musa close the shop for the day. They walked a little way together, talking about small things, the price of sugar, the weather, a cat that kept coming to sleep by the shop door. At one point, Musa said, "Tobi, you go come tomorrow?" "Of course," Tobi replied. "I'm not leaving you behind." That night, The market lights flickered gently against the evening sky. Musa sat on his new bed, the softest thing he had ever felt, and held one of the 20 naira notes from the leftover bundle he hadn't sprayed. He kept it as a reminder that giving is never wasted, a reminder that recognition can rewrite a man's life, a reminder that even broken stories can turn golden with the right heart beside them. Somewhere across the city, Tobi stood on his balcony, looking at the same night sky. He felt grateful, humbled, changed. He whispered to himself, "The world needs more people like Musa, even if they don't know it yet." What neither of them knew was that their story was far from over. The city had only seen the beginning, and life, in its unexpected rhythm, was preparing a second beat, one that would test, strengthen, and deepen their bond even more. The following weeks unfolded like a slow, tender sunrise over Musa's life, one that warmed every corner he had once believed would stay cold forever. Each morning, he woke before the rooster crowed, washed his face with cool water, and stepped into his shop with the pride of a man who finally had something to protect. The shop smelled of new paint, fresh biscuits, and quiet hope. And every day, as he opened the wooden door, he touched the banner above it as if it were scripture. Musa's Corner, the man with the richest heart. The market embraced him. Children called his name with familiarity. Women joked that his shop had become the new headquarters for gossip. Even the stern pepper sellers softened toward him, saying, "Musa, a beg give me biscuit. I go pay later." And he would laugh, wave his hand, and reply, "No wahala. Go, balance." But beyond the laughter and transactions, something else was growing, something deeply human and quietly profound. Confidence. Belonging. A sense of worth he had never known. And every time Tobi visited, wearing his simple t-shirts and sneakers, not his billionaire identity, Musa felt seen all over again. One afternoon, as the sun glowed like melted gold over K2 Market, Tobi walked into the shop with an envelope tucked under his arm. Musa, arranging tins of milk, looked up with his signature grin. "Tobi, you done come?" "Yes," Tobi said, stepping inside. "Today is a special day." Musa scratched his head. "Wetin happen?" Tobi handed him the envelope. "Open it." Musa opened it slowly, carefully, as though the paper might bite. Inside, he found a crisp document with bold letters at the top. He didn't recognize the words, but he recognized his name. "What be this?" he asked. "That," Tobi replied gently, "is your house deed." Musa froze, his mouth parted. He looked at the paper, then at Tobi, then back at the paper. "My house?" he whispered. "Yes, Musa. Your house. A place for you to sleep, to rest, to be safe. No more sleeping under bridges, no more cold ground." Musa lowered the paper and pressed both hands to his chest. "Tobi, you do all this for me?" "You earned it," Tobi said. "This isn't charity, it's recognition." Musa's eyes glistened, though he didn't cry. He simply nodded, as though fear and gratitude were fighting inside him for space. "Tobi," he said softly, "I no fit forget you, and I won't forget you either," Tobi replied. A slight breeze drifted through the shop, carrying the smell of roasted corn and palm oil. Outside, the market hummed like a giant heart. But inside the shop, silence held them, the kind that comes when life shifts so deeply that even the air wants to witness it. Later that evening, Tobi took Musa to see the house. It wasn't a mansion, and Musa didn't need one. It was a humble, beautiful bungalow painted in a soft cream color, with a small garden at the front and a wooden fence around the back. When they stepped inside, Musa's breath caught. The sitting room was simple but warm. A soft couch, a small rug, a fan that hummed steadily. The bedroom had a bed big enough for him to stretch out fully, something he had never done. The kitchen had pots, plates, even a small fridge humming gently in the corner. He walked through the house slowly, touching everything lightly with the tips of his fingers, as if afraid it might disappear. "This, na my own?" he whispered once more. Yes, Tobi said. Every bit of it. Musa stood in the center of the room, rubbed his palms together, and murmured, God, you do this one well. That night, Tobi watched from the doorway as Musa sat on the edge of the bed, legs swinging like a child. He lay down, sat up, lay down again, laughing quietly each time. The simplicity of it, the joy of owning something so basic, yet so life-changing, moved Tobi in ways he hadn't expected. You're safe now, Tobi said finally. Musa nodded. I day safe. Over the next few weeks, Musa transitioned between the shop and the house like a man discovering a new world. He swept his compound every morning, fed stray cats with leftover bread, and sat outside at night, listening to the crickets. There were moments of confusion nights, when he still woke, expecting to find a hard floor under him, but slowly, gently, he adjusted. Whenever children passed, they would shout, Uncle Musa, show us your house. And he would grin, wave them over, and proudly point at the building as though it were a palace. But the biggest change came not from the house or the shop, but from the quiet dignity settling in his spirit. One evening, while closing his shop, Musa looked at the last 20 naira note he had saved from the bundle he didn't spray. He carried it everywhere, folded neatly inside his pocket like a talisman. When Tobi asked why he kept it, Musa replied, Remind me, say even small thing fit big. One late afternoon, as the sun dipped low and the market's noise softened, Musa and Tobi stood outside the shop. A cool breeze swept across them, carrying the smell of frying akara. Musa, Tobi said, you've changed me. How? Musa asked. You taught me that wealth isn't measured by what we keep, but by what we give. Musa chuckled. Tobi, you get plenty money. I get only 20 naira that day. And that 20 naira, Tobi replied, was worth more than everything sprayed at that wedding. The words lingered between them, soft but powerful. That night, as the streetlights flickered on and the city exhaled under the blanket of dusk, Musa walked home his home. Each step felt like a prayer, each breath like a new beginning. He settled into his bed, pulled the thin blanket over his chest, and whispered one sentence into the quiet of the night. My life done start, and truly, it had. Every heart carries a story waiting for light. Musa's journey reminds us that kindness, no matter how small, can ripple into miracles we never imagined. Life may test us, bend us, or push us to the edges of ourselves, but compassion brings us home. If you've learned anything today, let it be this. You matter, your giving matters, and love always finds its way back. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and drop your lessons in the comments below. Your voice truly means something here.